Hello students, how are you? Hope all of you are fine. So today we will start a new topic which is known as audit evidence for the paper auditing practice and corporate governance. Let's start. The audit evidence is the information which is obtained by the auditor in arriving at the conclusion on which the audit opinion is based. It also comprises the source documents and accounting records underlying the financial statements and different information from other sources. So actually audit evidence is nothing but whenever the auditor takes an opinion or gives an opinion or gives report to his higher authorities or to the business body, there should be some supporting documents with that report or with that opinion. So these documents are actually known as the audit evidence, which is the most important part of an audit report. So when the auditor submits those audit reports, maybe to the government, maybe to his higher authorities, or maybe to the external or internal users of the business, these supporting documents or evidence rather plays a vital role. Without this evidence, no report, no opinion will be valid. The objective is the auditor should obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to be able to draw reasonable conclusions on which to base the audit opinion. So we all know that there are different kinds of audit reports, different kinds of opinions, and in all those opinions, whenever the auditor is coming on some conclusions, this audit evidence will play a very important role. Now, what is actually mean about the sufficient and appropriate audit evidence? Like a proper information, a audit evidence should have some characteristics. There should be sufficiency, which is the measure of quantity of audit evidence. Their appropriateness is the measure, the quality of audit evidence and its relevance to a particular assertion and reliability. So it should be sufficient and should be relevantly appropriate to a particular ascertain and reliability. The factors which are influenced to the judgment of auditor regarding sufficient and appropriate audit evidence are the nature of the inherent risk, the nature of the accounting and internal control system, and obviously the control risk, the materiality of the item being examined, the experience gained during previous audit, the results of audit procedures, and the source and reliability of the information available. So it is very important for an auditor that whatever evidence he is gathering, they should be from the reliable source. He can got the experience from the previous audit, and the nature of the accounting and internal control system is also very important because the most of the audit evidence are coming from the internal control system. So when an auditor preparing an audit evidence somewhere down the line, he has to depend on the internal auditor or on the internal control system. There may be some balance sheet items which have all the assets and liabilities being recorded. Do the recorded assets and liabilities exist? Are the assets owned and liabilities are belongs to the enterprise? Have the amounts arrived at in accordance with the policies? and have all the items, means asset, liability, incomes and expenses or revenues properly disclosed. So these are the questions which should be raised by the auditor when he is auditing or reporting or making an opinion about the financial system. So if these questions are not properly answered, then the auditor cannot have a proper opinion or conclusion. So to arrive at a proper conclusion, the auditor should check the documents. So whenever he is checking any documents and whenever he is coming to a conclusion, he should have those audit evidence along with him. Suppose if, look at the third point, are the assets owned and liabilities are belongs to the enterprise. If the company purchased an asset, so there should have some proper invoices or bills regarding that asset. There should be an asset logbook where they will record along with the date and the purchase price and with the vendor name, when the asset was purchased, from where the asset was purchased, what was the consignment number, what was the delivery date, how they paid the amount, cash or online or by check or by draft or anything. So after coming into the asset in the organization, in the building, so what was the rate of depreciation, what was the actual scrap value of the asset if it was sold. So these are the documents the auditor should check. He can re-verify and he can cross-verify all them, and he can take some of the photocopies of those documents as an audit evidence. And if there is any miscalculation, if there is any fraud, or there is any kind of discrepancy, those evidence may support the opinion or the conclusion of the auditor. Now, if it is a PL account, then we have these issues that all the incomes and assets have been properly recorded or not. Did the recorded income and expense transaction in fact occur? So the each and every voucher, the payment voucher, the receipt voucher, the signature of the party, the date, the cash payment, the check payment, so everything will be checked by the auditor. Have the income and expense been measured in accordance with the accounting policies? Accounting policies plays a very important role. So which policies are followed by the firm or the business should be known by the auditor. Have income and expenses been properly disclosed where appropriate? So these are the factors which auditor should check before giving his opinion in case of profit and loss accounts. Now, what are the sources? Now we are coming into the factor of the sources. The test of control. The test performed to obtain audit evidence about the suitability of design and the effective operation of the accounting and internal control system. So what kind of test, what kind of sampling the auditor will take, it totally depends on the internal control system, which may vary from company to company. If the number of document is less, if the number of vouching or billing is less, then it is possible for the auditor to check all of them. But if this number of document is very high and we have the less time, then the random sampling or the auditor have to depend on the report on the internal control system. Then comes the substantive procedures. The test performed to obtain audit evidence to detect material misstatement in the financial statements by test of details of transactions and balances and analytical procedures. So there should be a detailed procedure. So why? Suppose they are checking the trial, checking the ledgers. So if you select a leader, suppose salary account, so what is the balancing? What is the opening balance? What are the different salary payment? What are the terms and conditions of the salary payment, what are the increments, what are the means attendance system, when the salary was paid, they were paid in cash or in check, or there is any periodical payment, or there is an installment payment. So everything has to be checked. Then they can be categorized as follows: the assertions means an asset or a liability exists at a given date, and the rights and obligations for an asset or liability pertains to entity at a given date. That should be occurrence, a transaction or event took place actually incurred during the accounting period. So occurrence is a very important thing. If there is a possibility of huge fraud here, that the company will create some fake documents about some expenses or expenditure which actually don't occur. So auditor has to re-verify or cross-verify them. Then there is completeness. Obviously, the information should be complete in nature. All the document will be properly signed. The date will be there. The reasons will be there. Then we are talking about some short narrations will be there, etc. Then obviously the valuation. If it is an asset, what is the value? If it is a closing stock, then it will be a thoroughly measured. Means what kind of valuation techniques they are taking: the LIFO, the FIFO, the cost price, the market price. What are the different accounting policies regarding those closing stocks? That will be important. Then comes the measurement. A transaction or event is recorded at the proper amount and revenue expense is allocated to the proper period. In this case, we should give our opinion on the revenue expenditure, the capital expenditure, the deferred revenue expenditure, the capitalized expenditure. So all these expenses are very much important. Suppose when we are giving the valuation of an asset, the installation expenses, the traveling expenses, whether they are allotted on the machinery or not, all these are very important. Then obviously how they are being presented and disclosed, means disclosure means how they are appearing in the report, and the validity and the authorization is very important. So there in every report there should be the signature of the CFO, means the chief financial officer, and obviously the chartered accountant. All the transactions recorded are totally authorized by the management and are valid in accounting period. There should be proper inspection regarding the documents and varying and reliability. There should be proper observation. It consists of looking at a process of procedure being performed by the auditors. So these are the procedures to obtaining and audit as evidence. So if the evidence is not properly inspected and properly observed, it's not a valid document. It's not a valid evidence, rather. So when you're giving an opinion and conclusion regarding any entity, so if you don't have the valid audit evidence, then your opinion does not make any sense. You should have given a proper inquiry. It consists of seeking information of knowledge persons inside or outside the entity. So we have the right to get the information. So because we know there are two kind of party for a business, means the external party and the internal party. If they have the right information to know how the business is going on, then obviously at the time of auditor, they should have that right to get the proper information, to get the proper report at any point of time. It can be a form of written inquiries, or maybe some third parties, or informal oral inquiries, etc. There should have been some confirmation also. It consists of response to an inquiry to corroborate information contained in the accounting records. The computation should be right, and at last there should be some analytical procedures. It consists of the analysis of the significant ratios and trends, including the resulting investigation and fluctuation, particularly for the kind of valuation techniques of an organization. So maybe for the stock or for the business or for the business valuation, this analytical portion is very much important. Whether the business has taken the proper analysis or not, the auditor have to do some mathematical calculations regarding this, because if he's not properly verifying those records or numbers, there may be some arbitration, there may be some fraud, there may be some miscalculations. The auditor has to check regarding this analytical procedures. So, in the nutshell, that we can say that the types of audit evidence, mainly the three. First, the physical examination, which is used mainly for the tangible assets to verify their existence in the organization. Then there will be confirmation. Confirmation may be the written response from third party regarding the cross verification or cross checking. There may be some letters signed by the client but received by the auditors. Then he can go to the multiple clients, or he can call, or he can send mail regarding these documents, these transactions. And if the clients are saying this, yes, okay, this party has purchased or sold something to me, and they can show you, or they can send you their records also, the cross invoices or the cross bills, then that will be fine for you. And at last, there will be mathematical evidence. We were talking about the analytical portions, the calculations, the figures. So recalculations and computations plays a very important role for an auditor if it's a valuation. So valuation techniques are also very important. So hope we have understood something about the audit evidence. So it will be better if you go through the total slides once again, the total video once again. So in our next class, we will do some very important portion of an audit, means the appointment and the reappointment of the auditor. So till then, thank you. Goodbye. Be safe.